Are you the officers?
Yes. Where's Mr. French?
He's expecting you up front there in the dressing room.
Oh, good. Anybody gone out by this door since he called us?
No, sir. I've been on this door every minute.
All right, Pop. You stay on this door. If anyone tries to leave, call me or one of the boys here.
You bet I will, sir.
Come on, boys.
Now, watch these ropes, Pap. You don't want to knock anything down. Yeah, pretty swell joint, isn't it?
Yeah, all these lights blind me, though.
Yeah, here we are. Hey, where's
You're the officer from headquarters?
Yeah.
In this dressing room right here. He's lying right over there.
Stabbed in the back. Anything been moved?
No, sir. I saw to that.
Who's this fellow?
He was caught trying to slip out. His name is, Prince.
What's your full name?
Tom Prince.
Know this girl?
Yes. Yes, I know. I've been quite friendly with her, but I didn't do it. Do you hear? I didn't do it.
Who says you did?
This man here, French.
Yeah, what about it, Mr. French?
Well, the call boy tried to get this girl to answer for her second number, but there was no response. He opened the door and saw her lying on the floor with that knife in her back. He immediately called me.
Yeah, wait a minute. Who is this girl?
Her name is Marsh. Helen Marsh. She works in a knife-throwing act. It's a number 2 spot right now. She's supposed to make a quick change and stand in on an Oriental number.
Did she go through her knife act tonight?
Yes.
And when the call boy called her for the Oriental number, she was dead, huh?
That's right.
How much time is consumed between the knife act and the Oriental number?
Oh, about 10 minutes.
And she could have been killed at any time during that 10 minutes, huh?
That's right.
Well, where does this man fit in?
Mr. Prince has been one of Miss Marsh's admirers. He went with her quite steadily, I believe. Earlier this evening, they had some words, and Miss Marsh told him to leave.
How'd you find that out?
Well, from the other actors, it's common knowledge. Backstage gossip, you know.
I see. Well, what's your story, Prince?
What he told you is true. I did go with Helen, Miss Marsh. I've gone with her for a month or so, nearly every evening. Well, earlier tonight, my brother told me that she'd come to him demanding money or she'd involve me in a scandal of some sort. I didn't believe him, and we both came to the theater before the show tonight to see her.
I see. Your brother came with you?
Yes, he made Miss Marsh admit she was only trying to work me for some money, and we both left just as Jose came in.
Jose? Who's he?
Jose Gonzalez, her partner in the knife-throwing act.
Oh. Well, where did you and your brother go after leaving here?
I had some passes, so we took him to the show. He's still out there, I guess.
You were seeing the show with him?
Yes.
Then how did we find you back here, with Mr. French telling us that you were caught trying to leave?
Well, during the show, I got to thinking that maybe Helen had some reason for saying what she did. So I came back through an exit door to give her another chance to explain. I told my brother I was going out for a smoke.
I see. And your brother is still sitting out in front?
Yes, unless he got tired of waiting for me and left.
Yeah, we'll find out about that. Well, what did you see when you came back here?
Well, I knew Miss March was in her dressing room between acts, so I knocked on the door and walked in.
Yeah, and then?
Helen Marsh was lying just as you see her now, with that knife sticking out of her back.
What did you do?
I closed the door and tried to get back to the theater, but Mr. French caught me.
Yes, the call boy had already notified me.
I see. Well, Mr. French, there's only one thing to do. That is to empty the house, see if this man's brother is in the audience, and bring him back here. Also, I want to see this Jose Gonzalez. If I'm not mistaken, that knife that's sticking in her back looks very much like one he'd used.
As you say, Captain, but can't you wait until later, say after the last show, to make your investigation?
I'm sorry, but we'll do it my way. Dismiss the audience and see if this other Mr. Prince is in the theater, and tell all the performers to remain in their dressing rooms until I see them.
As you wish.
I'm sorry to have to do this, Mr. French, but murder is a serious matter.
I understand. I'll inform the audience right after this number.
All right. Don't frighten them. Just make some excuse, refund if necessary. That's up to you.
I'll handle it.
Yeah, get those pictures now, Weaver. Well, I'm sorry, buddy, but you'll have to stick around. Looks like you're in a spot.
Well, I didn't do it, I tell you. I didn't do it.
We'll see.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are forced to ask your indulgence in view of a tragedy which has just happened backstage. The remainder of tonight's performance will be canceled. There's no reason for excitement. Those of you who wish may get the price of their seats refunded at the box office. If a Mr. Prince is in the house, brother of Mr. Tom Prince, he is wanted backstage. A little music, please, Temple.
You say you never saw this knife before?
No, it is painted like the rest of my knives. But this one is not like the rest. It does not have the balance.
And as these other actors say, you were downstairs playing poker from immediately after your act until now, huh?
Yes, I did not know of this until I am told.
All right, you can go. Dismiss the rest of the cast, too, French. I'm through with them.
Yes, Captain.
Oh, see who it is.
Where's my brother? What has happened to my brother?
Now, wait a minute. Who said anything had happened to your brother?
Well, it was announced that there had been a tragedy backstage.
My brother has not returned to his seat.
Oh, you're Tom Prince's brother?
Yes, I am Dr. Prince.
Did you know that your brother was coming backstage?
No. He told me he was going out for a smoke. Where is he? What's happened to him?
Nothing has happened to him. He's right in the next room. Dr. Prince, it looks very much like your brother is in a jam.
Jam? What sort of a jam?
Helen Marsh was found dead in the next room.
Dead?
Yes. We suspect your brother of the murder.
That's impossible. Ridiculous.
Nevertheless, it looks bad for him. Mr. French here found him trying to sneak out.
Who is Mr. French?
This gentleman in the tuxedo. He's the manager of the theater.
Oh. May I see my brother?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, get him, Weaver.
Yes, sir.
John, I'm glad you're here. They've got me in an awful mess.
Now, brace up, Tom. I want you to answer just one question. Did you kill Helen Marsh?
Oh, no, for heaven's sake. No, don't you believe me either?
Yes, Tom, I believe you.
Well, I'm sorry, Dr. Prince, but I don't. I'll have to take him down for questioning.
May I see the body? I'm a physician, you know.
I guess it'll be all right. In here. There.
Stabbed.
Yeah.
What's more, she was stabbed while facing her killer.
How do you know that?
By the position of the knife. It was driven into her body by a left-handed man who reached over her right shoulder and drove the knife home. My brother is right-handed.
Yeah, I know, but that doesn't prove anything.
It is a point, though. You mind if I turn the body over?
No, I guess not. We have all our pictures.
All right, give me a hand here. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. She was a good-looking woman, wasn't she?
Yes, but terribly unscrupulous. I'm rather inclined to agree with Schopenhauer that women are an unscrupulous race.
Schopenhauer? Well, who's he?
Oh, you probably wouldn't know him. He's an old philosopher.
Like Napoleon, huh?
Well, hardly. Look at this.
What'd you find, Doctor?
I don't know exactly. Look at this little round bruise in the center of her forehead, about the size of a pea.
Birthmark, maybe.
Not this. There's coagulation of blood here. It's a bruise.
Oh, from what? Her fall?
No.
What caused it, then?
I'm just trying to decide. Now, let me see. Captain, how does this sound? Does it sound reasonable to you? When Helen Marsh started playing around with my brother with the obvious intention of getting all the money she could, she invoked the displeasure of someone else.
Yeah, but...
Now, that someone had spent a lot of money on this Marsh girl. Done a lot for her. And when he found out that her game was making suckers out of men like my brother, he resented it even more than my brother did.
Well, it's a cinch that whoever killed her must not have liked her very much.
Now, granted. Now, this man finds out what sort of a woman she is, and he gets very angry. He plans to kill her and throw suspicion on Jose, the knife thrower, by using a gilded knife, like the one in the act.
Well, maybe.
Now, the killer sneaked back here and between acts entered the room. He embraced her with his left arm over her right shoulder, and with her face pressed firmly to his chest to suppress a scream, he drove the knife into her body and fled.
Oh, sounds okay.
The murderer left one little clue, Captain.
Yeah, what was that?
The small bruise on Helen Marsh's forehead. Captain, how tall is this Marsh girl?
5'1" or 2.
Nearer 5 even, I'd say. And how tall is one of us men? Say, French over here.
About 6 feet.
Then Helen Marsh, standing up and facing one of us, would stand with the top of her head just under our chin?
Yeah, but...
Captain, that mark on Helen Marsh's forehead was made by just one thing. A stud. A tuxedo stud on the front of a man's shirt, such as French is wearing. And, Captain...
What the...
There, on French's shirt front are the marks on Helen Marsh's lips, where he pressed a rouged mouth close to his body to keep her from screaming. There's your murderer, the theater manager.
Police headquarters. All right, Captain. Hello, Tim. Send a car to the Melody Theater. The manager's just confessed to murder. Police headquarters.
And now, Toon Detective, from March 28th, 1947. This was the final show of the series.
Sigmund Spaeth's Music Quiz. afternoon. We welcome you at Sigmund Spaeth's Music Quiz, an entertainment of an informal nature, and during which Mr. Spaeth does some question answering, some piano playing, and, if the occasion demands, some singing. Mainly it's a question of questions, which you have provided and which Mr. Spaeth answers. We sent out a copy of his popular book, Fun with Music, for every question used. We introduce you now to our guest and your host, the distinguished musician, author, and critic, Sigmund Spaeth.
Thank you, Keith Barron, and good afternoon, everybody. I would like to go right into the questions today because we want to get in as many as possible on this last session of the music quiz.
All right, Mr. Spaeth, and we have some fine questions in the mailbag. The first one comes from Sadie Robinson of Brooklyn, New York. Has the theme of Di Provenza from La Traviata been used in popular ballads?
Well, that's not so easy to answer. There is an old ballad that sounds a little bit like it. Of course, Di Provenza stars... Now, it just happens that opening phrase reminds me a little of a very old song which was called Walking Down Broadway. It has rather funny words. Maybe I'll risk humming it to you. Something like this, the chorus. Walking down Broadway, that festive gay Broadway. The okay thing on Saturday is walking down Broadway. Walking down Broadway, that festive gay Broadway. The okay thing on Saturday is walking down Broadway. You notice that word okay in there, too. Pretty old song at that.
Is that it, Mr. S?
Well, that is the closest I can get to Di Provenza, I think. There's been nothing very recent taken from it, so far as I know.
Well, because it's spring, I was waiting for another trill from your very beautiful voice.
Oh, well, spring trills me enough as it is.
I think that'll be enough of that.
Thank you.
Miss K.L. Moody of New York City asks, why is a piano called a pianoforte?
Well, that's easier to answer, because, of course, pianoforte is the real word. We call it a piano simply to abbreviate the actual name. And it was called that by the Italians. Piano and forte are two Italian words, one meaning low, flat, like the word plane, airplane, and so on. The other, forte, means brave and or strong, and hence loud. So a pianoforte is an instrument that can play both soft and loud, and we call it a piano for short.
Now we move up to the New England states. From Somerville, Massachusetts, Mrs. W.C. Jervis asks, whose words are used in Beethoven's Ninth or Chorale Symphony?
The chorus, which comes in the last movement of that symphony, is to words by Schiller. The German poet Schiller wrote an Ode to Joy, and that is the text that Beethoven used for that. It's a very, very beautiful poem, and it sounds fine with a chorus singing it.
Back to Brooklyn now, Mr. Spaeth. Conrad Fiorillo of Brooklyn. Which of Puccini's operas is considered his masterpiece, and why?
Well, this is really just a personal opinion. Today, I think three of Puccini's operas are almost equally popular. That would be Tosca and Madame Butterfly and La Bohème. They're all very popular. But of the three, I think musically and dramatically, the real virtues are in Tosca. I would pick Tosca as his real masterpiece. It's more serious, it's on a bigger scale, it has a tremendous tragic significance, and the music to me seems beautiful. I'll take Tosca.
I take it Tosca is your favorite.
Yes, it is.
Mrs. E.D. Madden of Bridgeport, Connecticut asks, what kind of an instrument is a Hammerklavier? Are they still in use?
That's an interesting question. Hammerklavier, of course, literally translated, that's a German word. It means a hammer clavier, or you might call it today a hammer piano. That word clavier, spelt usually C-L-A-V-I-E-R, was applied to all sorts of keyboard instruments in the old days, anything except an organ, to distinguish the clavichord, and so on from the organ. They called them all claviers. Now, when the hammers came in, which was around Beethoven's time, he himself used that word, Hammerklavier. He wrote a sonata for the Hammerklavier. That is to say, a clavier with hammers. And later the Germans shortened that, and their word for piano today is just clavier, K-L-A-V-I-E-R. I think that perhaps explained it.
Question of my own. Is a cymbalum a member of that family?
Well, the cymbalum is a percussion instrument, and there they use the hammers. They're a rather special type. Yes, and well, the cymbalum is the Hungarian instrument. The cembalum, or cembalo, that was the clavicembalo. That comes in the same family. There were so many of us. The spinet, the virginals, all kinds of keyboard instruments. And when you get that, you can see at once. That's percussion. That's a hammer on the strings. That is what created the modern piano.
Mr. S., that shows how informal we are. We settle little questions of our own right on the program.
Very glad to.
Here's our final one from the mailbag, Mrs. Ethelda Partridge of New York City. Can you give the musical backgrounds to some of the